The 25 maddest facts about Mad Max Fury Road. Hell, well, it was about time. And yes, it was absolutely worth waiting for almost 30 years for the new Mad Max to hit the big screens. Here are 25 intriguing and unorthodox things that will guarantee this movie won't be forgotten for the next 25 years. Number 1. Has it really been that long? Almost 30 years! Can you believe it? It seems like it was only yesterday we saw the Mad Max 3 Beyond Thunderdome. No, Chrome boys and girls, the last time we had a chance to see the timeless Road Warrior was in 1985. Probably some of the Road Fury fans weren't even born back then. Number 2. The Mad Max is director George Miller's life and legacy. You don't have to be a huge Mad Max fan to know that for sure. On the other hand, this is also Miller's family as well. The main film editor is actually the director's wife, Margaret Sixel. Was this a smart choice for George Miller? His wife gives an answer we deserve. She did her job as if she had never edited a movie such as this one. Why? Because she didn't want it to look like any other action movie seen before. This is something she shares with her husband. Number 3. Charlize Theron had no other choice than to sacrifice her gorgeous hair for this movie. The memorable Furiosa shaved her head. As a direct consequence, Charlize was forced to use a wig for her next movie at the time, A Million Ways to Die in the West. It's easy for us to say, but we really think it was completely worth it of this unusual movie sacrifice. Number 4. Can Max be truly mad without Mel Gibson? This is a tough one to answer to. Back in 2003, it seemed that Mel Gibson is about to tell a new chapter of the Mad Max timeless story. However, the troubles associated with shooting locations ruined this unique opportunity. The following year, 2004, Mel Gibson was all about its artistic baby called The Passion of the Christ, and George Miller was forced to postpone the production one more time. It wasn't meant to be, Miller, obviously. Namibia very soon became a forbidden land for movie producers due to US sanctions. In addition, the war in Iraq postponed George Miller's plan until 2009. Really, this movie had some unparalleled birth pains to go through. Number 5. Now, we've to enter into the zone of Hollywood rumors. One of them has it that the new Mad Max Tom Hardy asked Mel Gibson's blessing for his role as Max Rockatansky. Apparently, Gibson accepted this bitter fact surprisingly well and calm. As a matter of fact, he attended the LA premiere of Mad Max Fury Road. If you Google a little bit, you can stumble upon a picture which can steal away a tear from your eye. All of them together, George Miller, Tom Hardy, and Mel Gibson, at the premiere and into the movie history. Number 6. Here's something unusual about George Miller himself. He has directed all Mad Max franchise movies. He was able to have it both, his way and the post-apocalyptic highway. These movies had quite a notorious reputation as being extremely violent. However, George Miller showed his soft side while directing the so-called family movies, such as the Babe 2 movie, including Happy Feet and Happy Feet 2. Can you believe it? Number 7. Mad Max Fury Road had eaten between $100 and $150 million for production. We have no doubts that his money was properly invested for a movie masterpiece. However, one quick reminder is not going to hurt a bit. The very first Mad Max movie had a symbolic production budget of no more than $300,000. So what are these two production figures telling us? The production costs increased for more than 300 times in the meantime. And we're free to say that the artistic and cultural importance of Mad Max franchise increased for more than 3,000 times. Number 8. We have to mention the War Brides. It turns out that two of them have quite a remarkable family pedigree. The red-haired war bride Capable, portrayed by Riley Coe, is actually a daughter of Lisa Marie Presley. What's even more interesting is she's Elvis Presley's granddaughter. On the other hand, her bride colleague, Zoe Isabella Kravitz, is the daughter of singer and occasionally an actor, Lenny Kravitz. It seems that Immortan Joe wanted celebrity besides healthy babies. Number 9. Tom Hardy probably never even dreamed that he would portray Mad Max one day. However, he had a dog when he was a kid. The name of his dog was Max. He named his dog in such a way to honor the Road Warrior himself. Who could have even dared to guess that he'll have the honor to immortalize Mad Max one more time in 2015? Number 10. You've probably noticed that the scary breathing apparatus Immortan Joe uses in the film strongly resembles the similar mask Tom Hardy uses as Bane in Batman's The Dark Knight Rises. In addition, the mask Max was forced to wear during the first minutes of the film bears the striking resemblance with the Batman movie, which skyrocketed Hardy as the Hollywood A-list movie star. Number 11. In one of his early interviews, George Miller didn't want to hide the fact that Heath Ledger was actually his first and only choice for the challenging role of Max. Unfortunately, Ledger's tragic and sudden death interfered with his original plans. Ledger got his first and only Oscar for the unparalleled portrait of the Joker in The Dark Knight. Yet, Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy was simply meant to deliver the next Mad Max. The Dark Knight Rises gave us Bane and Tom Hardy as Mad Max. Number 12. Definitely one of the most impressive things about this movie is a stunning fact that almost more than 80% of all effects were actually real. George Miller is an old school when it comes to the special movie effects, including stunts and makeup. Back in the early days of Mad Max franchise, the CGI was nothing more than an idea that will one day conquer the movie industry completely, but not for George Miller. Number 13. The very first Mad Max villain is actually the last one. The actor Hugh Keys-Byrne, who gave us the immortal performance of Immortan Joe, was the toe cutter in the first Mad Max movie back in 1979. As you remember, he was a notorious leader of motorcycle responsible for the death of Max's wife and baby. Number 14. Apparently, the crucial partnerships for the success of this movie had their hiccups. According to some serious rumors, Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy failed to repeat the movie chemistry between Furiosa and Max off the screen. They rarely spoke when not filming. On the other side, it's not a secret that Tom Hardy didn't share George Miller's artistic vision all the time with the burning enthusiasm. Number 15. The fans were strongly urging George Miller to allow a short but invaluable cameo role for Mel Gibson. However, for Miller, this was simply unacceptable. Why? On one occasion, he said it would be as if Sean Connery suddenly appears in one of Daniel Craig's Bond movies. Although you may feel hurt, Miller certainly made a point with his Bond comparison. Number 16. Did you know that Max Rockatansky borrowed his last name from the 19th century pathologist von Rockatansky? This famous doctor, Carl von Rockatansky, was honored one more time when his name was used for the so-called Rockatansky procedure, which is the most widely used method for body's organs removal during an autopsy. What's this pathologist got to do with Mad Max and George Miller? Well, the first movie of this franchise had a tight budget, and Miller had to work as an emergency doctor when he wasn't filming. Now we know why there was so much surgery in all Mad Max movies, right? Number 17. We've already mentioned the production difficulties Miller experienced between 2003 and 2009, which eventually made him to lose his original Mad Max Mel Gibson. George Miller was so desperate that he was seriously considering a 3D animated movie as an alternative. No wonder he had such a rich Happy Feet experience. Number 18. Without any exaggeration, we can say that the mind-blowing cars used in the Fury Road were the characters themselves, which strongly contributed to the overall success of the movie. Each and any of them has a unique role, name, and a background story. Max is still loyal to his interceptor, the black 1974 XB Ford Falcon Coupe. On the other hand, we have the War Rig, driven by Furiosa, which is actually the result of a Czechoslovakian Tatra and Chevy Fleetmaster fusion combined with an 18-wheeler boosted with two V8 engines. And the list of unique cars goes on and on. Let's not forget the People's Eaters Mercedes limousine and unavoidable Immortan Joe's Gigahorse, which is made of two 1959 Cadillac DeVilles. Number 19. It's a well-known fact that George Miller is an uncompromising stickler for flawless movie perfection. However, for what it's worth, they actually spent 138 days for making only one movie scene. Both actors and movie crew members simply had to accept the fact that George Miller was doing his thing again. Luckily for us and the movie history, he did it nicely and unforgettably. Number 20. How do you know that you made a truly successful movie? Well, it's simple. Just look for a Lego version of your movie characters and scenes. Only a couple of weeks after the official release of Mad Max Fury Road, the busy Lego bees were able to come up with the adorable replicas as part of their own Mad Max / Lego Wasteland series. Can you imagine the Gigahorse, even the Max's Interceptor, and the War Rig, driven by Imperator Furiosas, created with the Lego building blocks? We certainly can. Number 21. George Miller is above a visual director. What's that supposed to mean for the Fury Road? Well, forget about the classic screenplays, because Miller relies only on movie storyboards. Now, imagine an endless Mad Max comic book with more than 3,500 panels. Oh dear, what a sight for any Mad Max fan. Number 22. We've to mention those unforgettable cars one more time. More than 150 specially designed cars were created for the purpose of this film. Unfortunately, only half of them survived the production process. Oh dear, we would have given the whole world for one shiny chrome ride with these road monsters. Number 23. Have you ever wondered what is this crazy guitarist doing with this flammable musical instrument in the movie? Well, one of the most likable theories offered by Mad Max fans is that he actually represents the 19th century drummer boy. As you might have already seen in the movies, the young boys playing drums were a strong encouragement for their old fellow fighters. These war drums were an essential part of the battlefield and the unit's formation system. Here's one very interesting quick reminder. You can see some of these drummer boys in Mel Gibson's Patriot movie. Number 24. If you're a fan of the vagina monologues, then you certainly recognize the feministic signature of Eve Ensler. She shared some of her invaluable experience of working with women war victims with George Miller. Furiosa herself and her Amazon warriors tribe, consisting only of women fighters, were inspired by Ensler's real-life stories. Number 25. It would be an unfair thing to say we've intentionally saved the best for last. However, the following fact will certainly make you watch The Fury Road with a completely different perspective. According to George Miller, we had a chance to see only 2 hours of almost 480 hours of total footage. You need at least 3 weeks if you're not planning to sleep at all, just to examine the entire movie material. No wonder Miller had his wife Margaret Sixel to deal with the unpleasant cutting job in the inevitable editing process. He had to forgive her, right?